Chumley joining us. We were going to have her on for an hour, but the police state is unfolding so fast that we've only got her on for 30 minutes, but I want to invite her back on for a full hour in the next few weeks. She was also on with David Knight. You know, I know a lot about the police state, and folks, you know, out there might think that I couldn't learn something or you couldn't learn something from a book. It's put out by WorldNet Daily, forwarded by Congressman Louis Gohmert, Police State USA, How Orwell's Nightmare is Becoming Our Reality, Cheryl K. Chumley. And the fact that it's forwarded by a Texas Republican who is pro-law and order shows how the libertarian conservative movement is getting concerned about the militarization, and that's what's upsetting the power structure. And the feds, they want to federalize the police, and they want to use disasters like Ferguson as a pretext to do that. So we're not here to demonize the police. We're also not here to support them attacking reporters or attacking peaceful demonstrators. 5-1 last night, police for the reporters, for the police that we saw going after looters and people burning down businesses. So, again, the looters are horrible, but then does that mean the police can look at our reporters who are clean-cut and who are polite and who they've even checked in with and sit there looking at them like they want to kill them and pointing guns at them? I mean, if I was there, I'd be like, what is your problem? Why are you looking at me like that? I'm an American. I've done nothing to you. I'm the press. How dare you point a gun at me? How dare you? There's an earlier video they were showing where it's this big riot cop, and man, he's looking at Josh just like he wants to kill him, looking right at the camera, just like, what do they do? Show him videos of the press like eating children or something? I mean, how does that cop look at him like that? I mean, I would just get very upset. Like, why are you looking at me like you want to kill me? What is your problem? Where I come from in Dallas, I mean, you look at somebody like that on the street, they're going to just get out of their car and say, "What? I mean, you got a problem? I mean, what are you looking at me like you want to kill me for? What are you pointing a gun at me for? I haven't done anything to you." I mean, it's disgusting. The mentality they put in some of these cops' brains, it's going to start a civil war. You mix a bunch of these crazy thugs that are coming in out of St. Louis and other states. I'm ranting. We've got our guest on with us. We sell the book. It's excellent. It's full of documentation. Police State USA, Cheryl Chumley. It's available at InfoWarsStore.com. Don't forget this hour is brought to you by MyPatriotSupply.com, MyPatriotSupply.com/Alex. Super high quality, non-GMO, great customer service, 866-229-0927, MyPatriotSupply.com/Alex. You can find their weekly and monthly specials there, and you can also find the very same food, because we're a distributor for MyPatriotSupply.com at InfoWarsStore.com. So take advantage of that either way. Okay, Cheryl, I want to get your take on what's happening in Ferguson right now. And then I want to backtrack it into your book that goes over the history of this and how it's developed. But quite simply, you've got a lot of military-industrial complex interest, a lot of them that are foreign, who want a new market, and they know there's a lot of social problems in America that have been exacerbated, in my view, by the left, who wants dependence. And so there is a real market to not fix problems, but to actually let them get worse. Like FEMA got its funding doubled for disasters after Katrina. So we have a government where screwing up gets you a bigger budget. Well, that's a recipe for disaster, in my view. And we've had sociologists come out and say, no, that's why the political class wants to create crises or exacerbate them, as the former White House Chief of Staff said a few years ago, Rahm Emanuel. So, again, thank you so much for coming on with us. Folks can also get the book in bookstores everywhere. I've seen it in Barnes & Noble or at WND.com. Thank you for coming on.
Hey, Alex. Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here. So the circumstances aren't the best with Ferguson in the background.
Give us your take on Ferguson.
You know, it's a moving target right now. But I will say, when Ferguson first broke, my initial reaction was to wonder why the police had to roll out the military-grade equipment so quickly. You know, now you look at the scenes, and a lot of people will look at what the police are using in terms of what they say they need to justify to defend their police officers, keep them safe. And a lot of people might agree with that. But if you go back in time to when the protests first started, it just seems like police went to level 10 on rolling out the equipment, where they could have started off maybe at level 2 or 3.
And they're not stupid. The people giving the orders know full well that was provocative. The feds have been there since the start. We have a lot of history of provocateurs, especially with the feds. I guess to, again, create a threat or exacerbate it so they get more funding. Tell us a little bit about yourself. You've got a very interesting bio as a journalist, but what got you interested in the police state, and how did you do the research to put together such a powerful book?
Oh, thank you for the kind words on that. I appreciate it. My background is about 15 years now in reporting and journalism, and like most reporters, I started out on the local level. And I kind of keyed in on constitutional issues. When I would go to Board of Supervisor meetings and zoning meetings, I would notice how local regulators had great impact on stopping people from building a home, from putting up a shed, from paving a driveway. And I noticed that all came from the federal government, the EPA and so forth. And so I just kept track of things through the years. And when I went to research this book, I didn't have to look hard. It was more paring down examples of what's going on in terms of driving our nation down a police state. It was a lot harder to decide what to keep out than to scour for things to put in. And, you know, I have 4 kids. I happen to think our nation is the best in the world, and I would like to keep it that way for future generations.
Where should we start breaking down the police state?
Well, Ferguson is definitely the platform, but I sure do wish we had had this talk back when, you know, the toddler in Atlanta was busy being blown up by SWAT team tactics run amok. And, you know, that would have been the perfect example of how police should not have military-grade equipment, because all it does is entice them to use it for missions and for roles that are better served with a knock on the door. You know, people are dying in America because police with military equipment are taking it on themselves to use that equipment for things that could be better served, just like how police used to do it 20 years ago with a more protect and serve mentality. And this is the perfect opportunity, though, with Ferguson bringing it back in the limelight, to look at why police have this equipment in the first place and what Americans can do to curb its use.
I mean, the book, as you said, is just full of examples of the police state. But for folks that haven't read the book or who aren't experts on it.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I also cover, you know, that's just one chapter in my book. If you look at the EPA, what the EPA does on a daily basis, not just at the federal level, but how those trickle down to the local level. If you look at the emerging use of drones, now you have California and Arizona police departments picking that up. You have the business sector hoping to hop aboard and use drones. If you look at some of the surveillance activity, I know all your listeners are aware of the latest from Edward Snowden, but they may not be aware of what private businesses are doing to snatch up some of this technology where you can spy on people. When you walk into a store now, your department store may be pinging off your cell phone to alert the owners that you are a high dollar value shopper and that you've just entered the store. The mannequins may actually have recording, video and audio recording devices in their heads to not watch for theft control, but basically to pick up what shoppers are saying in the stores in order to use for marketing reasons. I have a chapter on executive orders. You know, you look at President Obama bragging to the world that he doesn't need Congress. He has a pen, he has a telephone. Who needs the law, the Constitution, and Congress? If you look at what's going on in our schools, Michelle Obama, the Queen Nanny, telling parents in America how they should feed their own children. You know,
that's what's important. That's why I like your book, is because we think of the police state as armored vehicles and LRADs, rubber bullets, cops in Space Invaders, sci-fi, stormtrooper outfits, and certainly that's part of it. But the police state isn't even really about the cops. The media has spun it that you're anti-police if you use the word police state. No, police state means 1984. Police state means North Korea. Police state means Mexico. Police state means a failed state. It means a country that's a banana republic. So why was this premeditatedly being set up? Not to secure the republic, but to overthrow it and the corrupt political class. And then you bring in the police state is about arbitrary power. I mean, until a decade ago, they had to pay you when they took your property, market value with eminent domain. Now they just take it and don't even pay you. And so that's what your book gets into, is so many areas of the police state that I hadn't even thought to call police state. I would call Agenda 21 tyranny, but really, you're right. It is the police state. It is the end of checks and balances. It is just arbitrary global rule, UN treaties that we're not even signatories to being implemented by the bureaucracies. It's like Obama is implementing gun control by executive action, and he points to the UN as his authority.
And here's the real danger. Most of it's being done with a smile. Most of it's being done with justification. It's either for the children or it's for the security of the nation. So the people who are doing these regulatory controls, they're doing it by patting themselves on the back, and they're receiving praise from people who think, wow, you care so much about American people that you want to help out. You want to help with security. Well, when I hear security nowadays coming from the government, I think regulation and control, because that's what so much of this talk is bringing.
There's a lot of good news, though. We always talk about Hollywood being so corrupt and evil. There's a libertarian, neo-conservative, but not in the neocon way, but a new conservative movement that's more constitutionally based. It's actually a return to the paleo-conservatives. It's come out in the news that there are secret libertarian and conservative, quote, societies in L.A. They're not really secret societies. It's that you'll lose your job if it comes out you're not basically a communist. I mean, I've had Hollywood people tell me I had to come out and support Obama or I wouldn't have gotten this new contract or I wouldn't have gotten this TV show, but gee, I hate him. But I went and saw The Giver last night. Anti-abortion, libertarian, anti-drone, anti-collectivist film. Very well done, Jeff Bridges. So many of the films I see now, Man of Steel, the list goes on, actually have a the Winter Soldier, Captain America, absolutely pro-liberty view, describes how criminal elements are hijacking the government. So there's a lot of good signs as well. Rand Paul has come out against the police state. We've seen a lot of the so-called left coming out against it. We've seen a lot of sheriffs and police chiefs saying they don't want to dress like stormtroopers. And so we're seeing some departments actually learn about soft power and go back to actually having a good relationship with the public, while we see other departments going the other way. So I see a battle for the heart and soul of this country going on right now.
That's absolutely right. And that's a big reason why I wrote this book also. I think if people are educated to know all the different areas that we're being attacked, people will be outraged and they'll want to act. Because I truly believe that most Americans love their freedom. They're patriotic. They believe that the founding fathers created this nation on the principle that our rights come from God, not government. That they're, really upset with how the Obama administration is taking control and power away from the people and doing it with such an elitist, arrogant attitude. And I think people just need to know that, what you were just describing is true. There's a lot of optimism. There's a lot of hope still. And this still is our nation. It's a nation of, buying for the people form of government, which means we get the chance to boot these people from office and we can stand up and, our voices are very powerful. And if we want our freedoms back, we can certainly take them.
We've got some bad news. I had Joe Biggs on just about 25 minutes ago and predicted that you would end up having police or the National Guard, especially the National Guard, because these are kids wearing Berettas on their side. Joe says he's never seen people this young in the Guard. They have literally sent the absolute newest recruits there with some very unsavory rabble-rousers that are burning buildings down and really stirring things up and attacking our reporters and other people. And now the police department has tweeted. We'll put it back on screen, and I will read this for folks. NBC News. Officer involved in shooting outside Ferguson. A police officer was involved in a shooting Tuesday in St. Louis, about 3 miles from where Michael Brown was shot and killed in the turbulent suburb of Ferguson, police confirmed. There was a heavy police presence at the scene, and police marked off the intersection with yellow tape. St. Louis Police Chief Sam Dotston said on Twitter that the suspect had brandished a knife at police. Further details were unclear. Here is the chief of police tweet. Officer involved shooting in the 6th district. Suspect brandished knife at officers. No officers injured. Investigation is ongoing. And this is deteriorating very quickly. I talked to a lawyer who I know in St. Louis who deals with the police. I talked to another lawyer in Kansas City who's formerly lived in St. Louis that I know. And they predicted, when I talked to them last weekend, that this was far from over. And they both said, bottom line, it's going to get a lot worse. I'm concerned about this spilling out in the rest of the country. And I wish it would have been handled better earlier by releasing the full report, by listening to the community and not being heavy-handed. And I wish those thugs using Craigslist hadn't come into town and looted as their excuse to steal. This is so horrible for the inner city communities and everybody else. It's just a terrible situation. What's your gut tell you is going to happen?
Yeah, I think, you know, there are some real strong demands that the officer be charged with some type of murder rap. And if that doesn't happen, I do agree that the violence is going to escalate. I think that's kind of what everybody's waiting right now to hear on. As far as the spillover, I believe I've already seen reports that it has kind of seeped out of the streets of Ferguson.
Yeah, L.A. and New York City, yeah.
Yeah, and spilled into neighboring communities and so forth. And, you know, you name them right. They're thugs. And, you know, the thugs that come down and invade his community as justification to steal and loot and so forth, they should be thrown in jail as soon as police can identify them. The good news is a lot of their faces are captured on video.
But most of the time, the government doesn't want to track them down. They're too busy rubber bulleting reporters who are doing nothing, literally doing nothing. Our reporters are not antagonizing the police.
I'm Darren McBreen, and these are some of the new items that are available now at InfoWarsShop.com. Alert the public to Obama's blatant abuse of power with the new Obama t-shirt. Obama's Joker face on the front and come and take it on the back. It's time to publicly call him out for what he is, a tyrant. Defend the Second Amendment with our top seller Come and Take It t-shirts. And look at that, women's cut tank tops and t-shirts now available. Nice hat. Plus the Don't Tread on Me flag. And now you can become a micro distributor of the InfoWars magazine. Plus, get your own copy delivered right to your door each and every month. And if you're tired like I am of you and your family being exposed to polluted drinking water, get the Pro One high performance water filter. It gets rid of all pathogenic bacteria, cyst, fluoride, heavy metals, and numerous other contaminants. So join the revolution at InfoWarsShop.com.
And all of the things that are being deployed against the population here will end up being used against veterans, gun owners, and people that don't have criminal records. Because we are the plums of the establishment. They want to milk us down to nothing. The book is available at InfoWarsStore.com. Cheryl Chumley, Police State USA, How Orwell's Nightmare is Becoming a Reality. And even if you already know about most of this, it's important to give this to your police chief, to your county commissioner. We can turn the tide. There's a major movement of police chiefs and sheriffs and others. Look at Detroit. When they have an officer-involved shooting, they just release the information. The police chief tells the citizens, go out, get guns, defend yourself from thugs, and the community works together. And now their crime rate has gone sky high, starting to go down. So that's the answer, is not an us against them mentality. But sometimes you got to hit rock bottom before that happens. We'll do a little bit of overdrive and take your calls for Bella, who's been holding like a trooper. and Chris and others. But again, the book is available at InfoWarsStore.com or by calling 888-253-3139. Another shooting in Ferguson just in the last 30 minutes. Our reporters are about to be on the scene, and I will go into overdrive while I take your calls to see if they can get in place and give us a report on what's happening. But you were finishing up by saying there is an idea here that somebody needs to get in trouble and that this officer needs to get indicted for something. But if the man charged him and attacked him and then ran back and he shot him, and the witnesses said he shot him in the back, that's not true now according to independent autopsy. There are a lot of witnesses coming out. I don't think we know the truth because police have been caught lying so much they've lost the moral high ground in many cases. But I think it's leaning towards the officer's story right now. And so you can't just indict him to stop rioting. I mean, I don't think there's any moral dilemma here. But at the same time, with a lot of these crowds, it seems like there's agitators in there that just want to stir things up. Where do you think this is going?
Well, let's not forget that Eric Holder has sent, plenty of agents on the scene from 6 different departments within the Justice Department to root out how police may have crossed lines. And he made that rather inflammatory statement from Martha's Vineyard where he talked about how police, if they had a more diverse police department, it would inspire more trust in the community of Ferguson. So if you look at the Justice Department statements, it seems a little bit alarming that when they're the ones in control of performing the 3rd autopsy and where they're taking such a heavy-handed presence on Ferguson soil, which is unprecedented for a federal agency, it raises some red flags about whether this is going to be a tainted end result for the police officer.
Meanwhile, DrudgeReport.com has our article out showing the CNN clip of somebody holding up an ISIS sign. There are a lot of people that think ISIS is really cool, mainly in the black Muslim community in this country, and that's scary as well, that our borders are wide open. Amazing. Thank you so much for joining us. Alex Jones here to break down some exciting developments in the area of research concerning supplemental iodine. It's nothing less than phenomenal. I began to get into iodine a few years ago because it was helping me and my family so much get healthy and detoxify. And I used some of the mainline iodine supplements and they upset my stomach and I had some issues with it. Until I discovered a product being developed by Dr. Group, who I was already interviewing as an expert on my radio show, and I began taking the product before he actually rolled it out. You now know it as Survival Shield True Nascent Iodine that your body can really absorb. Then, about a year ago, he said, listen, if you think this is powerful, I'm going to come out with rare earth, deep earth crystals that are incredibly powerful that no one else has as a source for their iodine from between 7,000 and 12,000 feet, literally drilled out of the ground. You put it on a hot plate and it turns into the pure gas. No one else has 99.99% pure iodine. And the results that I personally have had have been life-changing. I was over 270 pounds. And with the iodine, exercise, and better diet, I have lost now more than 50 pounds total, and I'm continuing to lose the weight. I have more energy, my libido, all this crap came out of my skin. I believe our research is conclusive. This is the best iodine out there. And I know this for a fact. Nobody else has got iodine based on these pure crystals, ladies and gentlemen. This is innovating. This is trailblazing. And the best part is it helps fund Infowars.com, the radio show, the TV show, the whole media operation promoting true libertarian ideas. For a limited time, experience the ancient power of Survival Shield X2. Take advantage of this unprecedented 30% off Super Detox special at InfoWarsLife.com.